and
Politics.
oh my goodness, yes, it is what it is.
Jason Dunning is looking inside of Matthew, and Jason, you're using some of your fancy tools to see wind speed, buoy information already on Florida's East Coast.
Yeah, well, one of the radars, the Miami radar, can actually see the storm now. It's getting close enough. Those radars go out about 300 miles. That's the range of our radar here in Southwest Florida. So we'll be able to see it with our own radar as it continues to get closer. But I want to show you some things, and we've got some buoy information as the storm continues to approach Southeast Florida. Let me give you an update on the distance right now. I'm going to track it from just south of West Palm Beach around Fort Lauderdale. So this is the distance from those hurricane force winds. And let me tilt the map back so it's a little bit easier to see there. Okay, so that's about roughly 140, 150 miles from Southeast Florida. Let me show you the distance from Southwest Florida. We'll go from about Fort Myers, and of course we don't expect to see a direct impact here in Southwest Florida, but the distance from the eye to us is about 260 miles. And you'll also notice these little icons here on your map. Here's one right there. These are all buoys. So we get buoy information, and it tells us basically how strong the winds are gusting right now. So let me hover over a few of these and show you. We've got some wind gusts up around 40 miles per hour in some of these outer rain bands here over the northern Bahamas and closer to the coast of Florida. Some wind gusts up to around 30 miles per hour closer to Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach around 34. Doesn't sound too impressive, but keep in mind that storm, the main area of the storm, is still about 160 miles away. Now here locally in Southwest Florida, we do have some rain bands, some of these feeder bands starting to rotate in closer to Lake Okeechobee. So let me give you a better vantage point of that. Looks like I'm having some issues. There we go. Thought I was having some issues with the clicker. So here's a closer view from Southwest Florida. Charlotte, Lee, Collier County looking pretty quiet right now, but if you look out closer to the lake, this is of course where we expect to see some of these heavier downpours around Clewiston, some of these beginning to rotate in, and they're moving pretty quickly. Let me put the radar into motion just so you can see the trajectory of some of these showers. And it's these downpours here that can contain some more powerful wind gusts, perhaps closer to 30 to 40 miles per hour, as these continue to work down toward the south and west. 1 hour futurecast as we go closer to 12:30 and 12:45. I'll put this into motion so you can see. We expect to see some of these rain bands come in around Moorhaven, over sections of Hendry County, closing in on LaBelle, I think closer to the 1 o'clock hour, and just to the east of Immokalee by then. So that's sort of the view of what we're looking at right now across Southwest Florida. The breeze will gradually, very gradually pick up as we head through the course of the afternoon. Let's time out the afternoon for you. I'll step out of the way, and you can see there's clearly the hurricane. Anybody can find that by around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Later in the day, closer to 5:30, some of these stronger bands wrapping around the eye will start to approach West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, even Miami. We get some of the peripheral effects of rotating around the core of the storm, around the circulation. So we're going to see some off and on rain as we head through this afternoon tonight. Winds will start to pick up even outside of some of these cells. It'll be spiraling around the storm center. And then as we head through the day on Friday, even in the morning, we're going to see a change in wind direction. Instead of the winds coming in like this, winds are going to come in from the Gulf Coast side. And it's here we could see some stronger wind gusts along the coast, which is why, one of the reasons at least, why we have tropical storm watches in place along our coastline. And for all of Charlotte, Lee, and Collier County, we could see some higher tides. I don't think we're going to see a storm surge per se. That will mainly be along the Florida East Coast, closer to the center of the storm. And as we head through Friday evening, we still have a few showers coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. But then you'll start to notice improving weather as we head into the weekend. Now, this is interesting. As we look at the rainfall projections across the southern half of Florida, notice the sharp cutoff. And we can go from seeing 5 to 10 inches here from the east coast of Florida, march a few miles inland, perhaps 2 to 4 inches closer to Lake Okeechobee, depending on where some of those rain bands set up. And closer to the Gulf Coast, we could see perhaps only a few drops in the bucket, around ½ an inch to an inch with some locally higher amounts. So we don't expect to see a major heavy rain threat here in Southwest Florida. That's some good news for us. And typically you see that if you're on the western periphery of the storm, there's not a ton of moisture that comes your way. In terms of the winds will start picking up as we head through this afternoon and tonight. Now, these are sustained winds closer to 20 to 30 miles per hour. That's one of the reasons why we have that tropical storm watch in place. Winds will be stronger closer to the storm as you get out toward Lake Okeechobee. And then as the storm marches up the coast, closer to Jacksonville by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, notice where the winds are coming from. I've got the streamlines on there, and that's where we're going to start to see that onshore wind. So it will continue to be rather breezy tomorrow, even in the wake of the storm as it continues to exit. Now, on to the next phase, and this is sort of often weather what if land as we head into next week. But first, want to focus on the next 48 hours as we head through about Saturday. The storm is right about here along the South Carolina coast. Notice the model consensus. We have a pretty high confidence now. This is either going to scrape along the coast or make landfall. But either way, the eye wall will likely impact an extensive area up and down the Florida East Coast, and unfortunately caused a lot of damage there for our neighbors along the Florida East Coast. And then here comes a new wrinkle in the forecast. You can see a few of these models trying to loop it back, almost a boomeranging effect back toward Florida. Let's not get too concerned about this at this point. There's still a lot of uncertainty, as you know, with tropical systems about 4 and 5 days out. This could be completely different by this time tomorrow, and even if it does try to swing back toward Florida's East Coast, it is going to be a much weaker storm, nowhere close to what we're looking at right now. Here's the latest forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center. Again, if you're just joining us, it's upgraded to a Category 4 storm, winds at 140 miles per hour. And here's the path. As you look at Southwest Florida, none of us are in the cone of concern, not even Lake Okeechobee anymore, but we're still going to see some pretty good fringe effects here out closer to the lake and even here in Southwest Florida, as we talked about. Some breezy weather and at times some showers wrapping around the storm as we head through this afternoon, tonight, and also into Friday. So it's important to stay weather aware over the next couple days. Stay tuned to every update with Matthew. We'll have a new update on his strength coming up at 2 o'clock. It's possible the storm could get even stronger. We saw that with the 11 o'clock advisory, and we'll have the next complete advisory, which is an update to the forecast cone, coming up at 5 o'clock. That is your NBC.